You guys know normally I take on COVID-19, but we're going to shove this to the side. I got a lot to talk to you about. You know, 2 days ago, I talked to you guys about stupid in America, how we cheat our kids. But again, I'm not calling you guys kids stupid. I want to talk about it. I'll put the video link on the top annotation, right-hand corner of your screen. I basically talked about how it costs $1/3 just to fire one bad teacher. I want to talk about other things that I didn't mention in Tuesday's video. Competition. It's like this. Without competition, nothing's going to be better. Competition is why we have Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS. It's why we have competition. Competition makes talk shows. Maury Povich, Jerry Springer, Steve Wilkos. We have better cars, better technology. It's why competition makes everything good. And if it makes everything better. So try to explain to the teachers unions, they come at you in your face like Karen saying shame on you. I tell that to Nancy Barron and she comes to me saying shame on you. I never taught in school, but I wouldn't like to. I'll teach. I'll place a wager. If this happens, I will teach for a week, if that's what it takes. Make any school in this district. Has me here in this district. But I struggle. But for 5 years on the show, I've got nothing but giving you guys help and information about what goes on. So why do we need competition in better schools? Which brings me to those charter schools. Meaning you escape the less bureaucracy. Kids often stay till 5. If we don't have that type of competition, we're bouncing off the walls here. But if these walls can talk, these wall voices were sitting next to me, what would really happen here? This is what would really happen. What would really happen here is they would tell me the same thing. You're right. He's right. I agree with that. But we don't have that kind of crap here in our public schools because a lot of other public schools do great. I mean, you talk to people in the suburbs, people in the suburbs say our schools are great. But they're not. The test scores can prove it. You may make an argument to the teachers union that the test scores are worse, but they're not. That's how it is, the test scores. You start testing here in the state of Texas. And remember the No Child Left Behind thing? Back in 2002? That was a biggie. To prepare kids for the test. Cancel recess, cancel lunches, get them prepared for the test. How it was back then. If the kids fail, then they will shipped off to other schools. If they pass, they get lots of funding. Especially when before the No Child Left Behind. I mean, I talked about this many times. Great security. Test sealed. Teachers sign off the student's test in the answer sheet. A lot of times. Case in point, Nancy Yergin. Greenville High, what's the name teacher to your BTA? After she was caught, she was told by some of the other teachers. It was commonplace. But it's just sheer fun to tell a student as a parent that he's doing better. According to one expert who had a watchdog group called Friends for Education. It's meaningless. But if you look at a headline story, front page story, Washington, D.C. scores well nationally. Headline story, front page story, be like this. Washington, D.C. scores better on standardized test. Well, that story is printed between the Los Angeles Times, New York Times, New York Post, even everywhere. Superintendents are able to defeat these bogus test scores of the print media. Scores are printed, superintendent gets the raises, and the people in that state are convinced. Something's not wrong here. But I'm not going to go all the way into this case, so you probably get the picture here. But the key is, we have to, this is the key question here. Here's the key questions here. Number one, what do your children know? And number two, when do they know it? You don't get an accurate answer to those questions, your child's going to join this, your child's going to join this, that, and the other. It'll be too late. It's how it is. And the other question is, how do you know what your child's learning if you don't test them and compare? This is the biggest answer I get. I know my kids are learning when I look in their eyes. Give me a break. That is the lame excuse ever. Lame excuse. Alright, coming up. How much money does Flower Bluff School District spend per pupil? The answer may surprise you. Don't go away. How much does Flower Bluff School District spend per pupil? Those who said, I don't know the answer to your question, I don't know, or I have no idea. What if I were to tell you this school district is spending over $8,000 per pupil? That's close to $10,000 per child. More the better. Like I talked about on Tuesday, Kansas City. Kansas City was one of the best school districts in the city ever. 150 taxis. Resolve all the spending, 2,000, they failed to meet the educational requirements. Low test scores, nobody gets their raises. Higher test scores, everyone passes. You just get their bonuses. In the case of Nancy Barrow, she was trying to help the poor kids. But it's how it is. It's probably a fraud. What these tests do is hide the great quality in American education. If you're born poor in South Carolina, you're going to stay poor all your lives. If you finish public schools, you're going to be literate. And like Wallace here talked about years ago in 60 Minutes, teachers were caught cheating here in Texas, Illinois, Memphis, Tennessee. One teacher confessed that the principal's complicity, students were given a copy of the test before testing. I mean, it's the pressure. That's all it is. It's just the pressure. That's what the state accused. What the state accused years ago. Cheating for money. To work $5,000 in relationships. That's 2 years. That's how it was. So I guess what you can argue is that unions don't care about the test scores. That's what the blob is. It's about the teachers, the janitors, the bureaucracy. Again, where does the money go? We don't know. It goes to the bureaucracy. That's just the way it is. You ask the same question to the superintendent in school, and they will tell you the same thing. I don't know the answer to your question. It's the bureaucracy. That's where it goes to. A lot of times, no one often cares. So, with the STAR exams, it's like probably the same thing. No child left behind crap. Times like this, it's like everybody in education is just going along with this fraud, and the taxpayer is hurting. Us taxpayers, I mean, We paid for programs. We paid for teachers to get their raises. We paid for new buildings. We paid for new assistant principals. That's what we paid for. That is what we paid for. With our tax dollars. I may be or may not be an expert in education, but let me tell you something. I do my damn homework. I watch education news, I talk about whatever needs to be talked about education related, and all of a sudden, y'all may agree with me, y'all may not agree with me. But looking back at the poll that did about mass attendance, a lot of you said schools should enforce those mass attendance. When I'm a child, 7 hours a day, 7 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 hours a week, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week for 5, 6. To cover the noses and the mouths where they breathe, 7 hours a day for the virus to people know. Miss Taylor who just a lot of times just wants to sit up here and say that they don't care. That's basically how it is. Something's wrong with school. Bring on the destruction. Not here in Flower Bluff. It's great school district ever. I'm not slandering them. I'm not making bad press on them. I'm saying they're doing a great job. Improvements need to be made. Improvements need to be made. That's how much we make. Like the Nasty Jimmy body. It was done in February, but I took a walk down there the other day. It still need to be worked. It still need to be put in place. It still need to be grass that needs to be put in there. A slant towards the grass area. But that was basically the whole reason why teachers were not getting raises. A lot of teachers could be paid, but it's what? To raise money, You know the old saying? Especially those lawsuits. When we come back, we're going to give you an example of how a school district decided to sue for a teacher for kicking a 5-year-old autistic child. I remember this video before, but there's nooks and crannies. I may not remember this, but if you have any trouble, just let me know in the comments about the story, and I'm trying to remember in the second half. We'll be right back. Now let's focus on our school lawsuits. One of the things that really got my attention years ago, a teacher in California was probably arrested or went on administrative leave for kicking a 5-year-old autistic child. But all that changed to where she was rubber roomed. It's a rubber room. Well, it's where teachers go to waste their money. It's not really rubber, it's just they sit there, hang around, read magazines, waste their money. Like I said before, we need to get rid of those. What we need to do is get rid of those rubber rooms. The reason that is basically because suspended with pay means you're already getting paid. You're getting paid. You're wasting. If we're paying for a lot of money, then all we're doing is wasting a lot of time here. It's like putting a teacher in a rubberized room, sit there a lot of times, hang around, waste time, and waste your money. That's how it all is. What we need to do is just either suspend them without pay or fire them. Those are two options. You can't put them in rubberized rooms. In the Dance of the Lemons thing, it was like 10 days to put them in another school district. But in California, it seems for this teacher, the school district they're asking for like a over almost $1 million. This lawsuit. It's eternal. If I or anybody or anybody here walked up and started throwing you out of a chair and started kicking you in the face or whatever, you know how many phones that they would be ready to call the police? And what we're talking about, a 5-year-old autistic child, much less my child or anybody's child. Like in the video, I'll show you that in the second half. Which I'll show you in the second half. And I question whether anybody should be able to qualify stuff. This isn't just news. It's been knee deep. And look at them, it's just so difficult. Every heartfelt apology is like, I'm sorry. Sorry's a little late. When I was growing up, and I did something wrong, I apologized wrong, he's like, you should have thought about that before you went ahead and did it. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I was raised. You apologize, they come at you and say, well, you should have thought about that before you went ahead and did it. That's the way it is. I hear a lot of stories about children, like just 2 days ago, I heard about a story. I heard a story about a child, about a teacher who slapped a student. That man was fired. He wasn't placed on administrative leave. He wasn't rubberized. Bam, he was fired. That's the way it needs to be. That's the way it needs to be in charter schools. That's the way it is in charter schools. You don't do better after one day, you can get canned. And in the case of Oxford, like I talked to you about, we blame a lot of things. Like, we blame the superintendent, we blame the dean of students, we blame the teachers, we blame the counselor. In fact, one of the counselors was taking a stand and confesses to it, but they didn't know about it. There was no bag search. Parents violated the Child Protection Act in Michigan, and basically, all they did is like they didn't care. Mom never texted back saying, get her help. And what she did was look up this, looked up a lot of help, and probably got it. So, the school's guilty, and the superintendent there denies this ever happened. So, I think what really has to happen is basically, if a teacher does something wrong, then they should be punished. Like, even worse than just being sued for First Amendment rights. This was back in 2017. Victory Prep Charter School. Remember the story? Maybe it looks crazy. Matt Crow represents the attorney for parents. 2 parents ran a Spanish article newspaper, and the school didn't like that. They're still banned from campus. In that lawsuit, the court said to let those kind of events suspended. Every child in America has constitutional rights. You don't abandon those constitutional rights. Like Kip Hughes talked about. Kip Hughes says, like every Supreme Court says, you don't shed your rights in the schoolhouse gate. You got some rights, but they brought it like drug testing, like illegal searching. One of the Florida Public Schools lawsuit back in 2005 was an illegal search. They probably sided with the school saying it's just only reason for this because what if there's a gun in there? What if there's something dangerous? You can't be at the school. It's how it is. It's how it is. So that is what needs to happen. It's what has to happen. There was a lot of schools getting fed up with COVID and all this. It's just as simple as freaking cat groups out in charter schools. But the charter schools, it's like, it's a waiting list. A lot of students, so they're going to have to have like a lottery. Private school costs money. Public education's free. Public charter schools are free. And a lot of times, charter school spends less. Actually, look at that looking back. Alright. Comparing and contrasting public schools to charter schools, like this. Public schools have more, charters have less. Teachers have tenure. Teachers and charters have tenure. That's comparing and contrasting to what really happens. And again, it's like this. It's like nobody probably even cares. So less money. You can take a kid. It's like no students may expel and Ben Chambers' school. So that's some great news. And that's a light note to end on. So to conclude, I think both are better. But the bottom line is we need competition. Competition makes everything better. If we don't have the type of competition in our in education, we're stuck with what the government gives us. I mean, public schools are government-run schools, a government-run monopoly. And like I said, like Manny Weingarten said, they don't really care about kids. I care about kids. I care about their education. That's why I did the show 5 years ago. And trying to help people in that matter. But let me tell you, I hate to see people suffering and people like you you've been hurt and people have been hurt long enough. We gotta get back in line here. We need to do something and really quick. If we don't do something fast, all we're doing is bouncing off the wall. That should never happen again. All right, coming up in the second half, give me a break. Sexual harassment in the workplace. Part of our Workplace Confidential. Inspiration by me. If we don't work, then we're gonna have to switch over to you can't say that. What's happening to free speech? Like I talked about before back in 2018, you can't scream fire in a crowded theater. You can't tell rioters beat that guy up. You could be in trouble. Now look at some cases, look at some Supreme Court cases about free speech. Actually, yeah, we're gonna do that. That's a little later on. I was when the second half. So with that in mind, that's all for this first. That's all for this first half. Give me a break. Thursday. I'll see you later on for the second half of the show. For all of us here at YouTube, and give me a break. I'll see you soon. If you can't make it, good night.